is USDT.D. Yeah, the USDT dominance. And so I've been tracking this for a while now, since December, when we were breaking down from this higher time frame trend line. Okay. And so we're seeing a breakdown now at the moment. We're kind of coming into support, but we kind of bounced, and we're not, that was it, that was the bounce. So you had your little bounce, and potentially, when I'm looking at the candles, you know, I'm looking at continuation candles. I'm not looking at a bottoming candle right now. Let me just clean this up a little bit. Hide that. Just fix ranges are fine. Are there other trend lines in play? Possibly. Look how far the data goes back. That's just, for me, that's just the nearest trend line which I've marked out, which is what I was considering. But if we were to take the whole time frame into consideration, and get rid of that one and that one, and this, and the last two horizontals. Okay, let me have a look at these. Looks a little bit like a rounding top, this whole movement. Rounding top. I wonder if we have like a real breakdown and no one, like the USD just becomes defunct. That's that black hole, that root analysis guy is talking about. So let me just have a look at this as well. Let me just play around with this a little bit. I mean, every trend line you have this, you have the price breaking down, you see. And let me have a look. Oh, where's my GAN? Yeah, I don't know, but I think it's like it's looking very bearish. This whole thing's looking very bearish. This is the inverse. Let me have a look at the moving averages, because I like to look at those sometimes. Okay, so on the weekly time frame, if you look at the moving averages, we've come underneath the weekly 200. The price is still going down. The weekly 200 has gone flat. We haven't yet rubbered back to it like we have on the 50 previously. I mean, to all intents purposes, you could argue that the momentum is still to the upside, because that is a crazy uptrend, isn't it? Look, you see that? That's a very crazy uptrend. But every trend line has been lost on this uptrend. And the only other thing that I can think of is volume. And you can see the volume is in the highs. And what else can you see is that we've lost the value area high. So the next area of big support, and this is very important for us when it comes to Bitcoin. Yeah, this is going to be really crucial for us to get back into USDT when this price hits the point of control. Yeah, it's a real important indicator when the USDT.D comes into support, that is going to time correctly with the crypto market cap coming into resistance. Yeah, for some reason these things are synchronized. There's no reason to think that it's not going to happen on Q. So I'm just going to mark that out, point of control. That'll be a good place for the price to be back into USDT when USDT.D comes into support. And just for the sake of consistency, I'm going to mark these over up as well. Value area high. Value area low. Let's get rid of these moving averages again. Just undo that. You have a high volume node here as well, to be honest with you. You might see a bounce there as well. Keep an eye on that as well. All right. Got your trend lines. We'll just ignore those really, because they're useless now, aren't they? Both of these trend lines are useless. We're clearly breaking down from this trend line. It kind of feels like a bump and run, this trend line. You see this? This whole pattern is a bump and run pattern. Yeah. I'll show you. This is the trend line. It actually goes up further to there. See this? This is the inverse. This is the trend line. Yeah. And it's the bump. This is the bump. And you follow this steeper trend line. You break. And now we're running. That's the run. It's called the bump and run. Let me find it for you guys so you can see what I mean. Give me a second. Let me just log into this this site. I can find it for you perfectly and I can show you. Or maybe I can't. Maybe I can't. All right, let me try something else. Okay, here it is. Copy image. So this is the bump and run reversal. Okay. So I think this is what we're seeing now. on USDT. Let me reverse it back and compare it to where we are now. Okay. So let me just get rid of these yellow lines that I have here. Okay. I just got this chart randomly just searching on Google. And so you see, according to this, you have the lead in. And I mean, obviously this trend line is a bit weird. I think probably this blue line, here it says it comes from the low, but probably this blue line reflects this white line that I have here. Probably. Okay. This is 31 degrees. I don't think that matters. This is 26 degrees. And this one is 48 degrees. This is 47 degrees. Okay. Let me zoom in a little bit. And that actually, the bump and run is just on this top part. Just this top part here, from where it begins here. And you have your lead in. So that's where the price goes. And then here, that's the bump. This is the bump. And it follows a much steeper trend line. See that? And that's here. So you have this bump. So it doesn't follow the original trend line, this yellow line. It gets bumped to a higher trend line. Then you break. You had the break back in just recently, actually, just January. That was the break. And then once you break this bottom line here, we've back tested it. That's the run. So we're in a run now at the moment on the USDT to the downside. It's called the bump and run reversal pattern. Okay. That's what it looks like. And in terms of the target, I mean, look, it goes all the way down to where it begins. So potentially, this is heading all the way down to here. You see that? Where it begins. This kind of begins here. All right. That's what it looks like to me at the moment. Let me just delete all these. So let me just see how that works with, okay, that's that. I don't need the furniture anymore. What's this one? That's the golden pocket, and this is the volume levels. And actually, according to the run, you could head all the way down to here. But the problem is, you have the point of control. What is that golden pocket? That golden pocket corresponds with the value area low. You're going to have support there. You're definitely going to have support there, and you're going to have support there. You're going to have two levels of support. This doesn't have any of that data, so we can't see. Let me see if there's any other information on targeting the bump and run. Does it give you targets? Any targets? Can't see it. Can't see any targets. Let me type that in. Bump and run targets. Yeah. I can't see any target. According to this, it's where it begins. That would put us down here. But I think for all intents purposes, I would probably I'd be probably aiming for here. Probably. That would make sense because that's the value area low. And from this lowest pivot to this high where the trend begins, that's the golden pocket. That would make sense. And I don't know if there's any other levels. I'm not really, this is a percentage chart, so I'm not really too worried about liquidity levels because it doesn't work like that. So I don't know. That would make sense. I think potentially you could think to yourself that if the USDT.D gets down to the golden pocket and the value area low, that's it. I think that's it. And if you do, the thing is, if you do get a breakdown, then it will go down quite fast, and probably then that will be your lowest target, and that's an increase. That's another 61% decrease, rather. So we have to see how the price behaves. But for all intents and purposes, if you look at the way the price is moving, this isn't the price, this is percentage. Yeah, I always think of the range. This is the range. We're in the range. That's deviation from the range. We're back in the range. Let's head back to the bottom of the range. Yeah. If we lose the bottom of the range, then you could be in another deviation from the range to get back into the range. So potentially we're in a range and it's just range bound. And if you lose the range or if you get above the range, it's a deviation. Now, could there be a deviation to the downside? Absolutely, there could be. But I think a good place to, these like key levels will be good places where USDT.D finds support, so you have these high volume nodes. One there, and then point of control, and then the value area low, which is probably the strongest one because it coincides with some key higher time frame fib levels. I think that's going to be quite important. It's something to bear in mind. But we are definitely, as far as I can tell, in a bump and run pattern, and we've only just really broken out of that pattern. So that gives me a lot of confidence. We've lost, we've back into the value area. We've lost value area high as support. And so for all intents purposes, this is definitely going to continue all the way down to the point of control. Why wouldn't it? And I'm just not going to go in a straight line, but, and then probably all the way down to the value area low as well. That's probably what's going to happen, because once you're in the value area, you're heading to the other side. You're in your range bound. You're going from one side of the range to the other side. That's what happens.